we are on a time limit and not a full battery, so let's see how this goes. Welcome to week 10. It's week 10. Welcome to week 10 of building the healthiest version of me. Now, this week's reel is all things nutrition, and I'm just gonna chat. I've put a question box on my story, so there might be an extra clip at the end of this if I get anything, but I'm gonna cover kind of weight tracking, supplements, and see how we get on. I have had a journey in terms of weight and nutrition. Where should I start? I think, like every young girl, there was a point in my life where I was trying to be the smallest version of myself and eating as little as I could to get to that point. And as a teenager, we're looking at like 16 years old maybe, I was quite chubby. A lot of it was just like puppy fat, going through puberty, all of that jazz. And I really didn't like how I looked. I hated pictures being taken of me. I just thought I was fat. And at this point, I would have just about stopped playing netball and hadn't yet started training in the gym. And so I think I was also just feeling really unfit, but because of the pain I was getting with my hip, wasn't quite sure what I should be doing, so just ate very little. I then quickly discovered the gym, didn't really understand fueling my body with food, so I would train and still not eat too much. I think when I first started in the gym, it would have been a lot of like, I remember doing like 40 minutes on the Stairmaster, like a lot of cardio, a lot of classes, that kind of stuff before I actually got into weight training. And then my first kind of introduction to tracking food would have been around the time I started uni, and my boyfriend at the time would have been telling me what I should be aiming for. I don't know where he would have got that from at all. He was in no way a professional in that sense. I want to say there were times when I was aiming for like 1,200 calories, which now makes me feel absolutely sick. That's literally like my breakfast. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say was there was a time in my life where I thought I was overweight and tried to fix that with ridiculous calorie deficits and not having a clue what I was doing in the gym. I am gonna like fast forward. I've gotten to a point where I know better how to track. I understand fueling my body for food. I understand protein a lot better. And I'm gonna fast forward to maybe about a year ago, and I had been pretty consistent with my weight. I was probably sitting at around 60 kilograms and had been for a good year or so, the majority of the time that I had been weightlifting and starting powerlifting. My boyfriend at that time, different boyfriend, basically drilled into my head that all powerlifters are fat. He would kind of tell me that regularly, and I really struggled to get to grips with how to feel confident in knowing that I really wanted to powerlift and I was gonna have to battle people that didn't think it was the right thing for me. Obviously he should have been way more supportive, and that is a whole nother story, but I very quickly came to terms with the fact that if I really wanted to powerlift, there were going to be people that disagreed with that choice, and I was just going to have to be confident enough that it was what I wanted to get on with that. And that is what I've done. But I did feel like I had to basically start tracking again. Because I had been so consistent with my weight up until that point, well, I was still consistent at that point, but because my weight had kind of stayed the same, I'd stopped tracking pretty much because there was no difference and I wasn't aiming for there to be a difference, so I was pretty happy sticking to that point. But I really didn't want to get fat and prove his point that all powerlifters were fat, so I decided to start tracking and just keep an eye on making sure my weight stayed the same. Anyway, we then split up and I had a really stressful couple of months. I had changed jobs, we split up, I needed to move house, a lot was going on, and I actually dropped down. And I think my lowest weigh-in might have been like 57, 58 kilograms. And I'd already signed up for my first comp and I was feeling pretty stressed because I felt really, really weak at that point. So there was a lot more going on behind the scenes, but I basically started tracking to try and put back on as much weight as I could. I knew that I wanted to be at around 60 kilograms because I had felt strong previously at that weight. So my aim was just to get back to being healthy and strong at that weight. Once I had done that, I then just tried to maintain that weight all towards the end of last year. So I think, if I remember correctly, I weighed in at comp at about 60.5 kilograms and I felt healthier and stronger at that point. And then I competed in September and I just kind of went off of tracking and carried on my year and just did not pay attention to that at all. When the new year came, I decided I wanted to bulk a little bit. The weight class that I sit in is up to 63 kilograms. I think it's 50, is it 59 to 63? And then 63 to 69, I think. Yeah, and then 69 to 73, etc, etc. So the under 63 category is between 59, or is it 57? Oh my goodness. I need to double check that. I just know that it's 63 is the top end, and I basically decided that it was a good idea to be as close to the top end as possible, because then I would be the strongest of myself while still being in that category, is basically my way of thinking. And so at the start of this year I started the bulk and I got to 63 before I went on holiday to Mallorca. So between January and May, put on about 3 kilograms, which I was really happy with, and I didn't feel any different. I was eating so much and I loved it. And then I stopped weighing and tracking. Obviously I was going on holiday, and then when I came back I just didn't feel ready to jump back on that. It does take a lot of dedication to be consistent with that, and I just wanted a little break from it, which is absolutely fine when needed, as long as there are points where I'm consistent. So I took some time off. Recently I am hoping to get a spot in a competition, so I've got kind of a date goal in mind for peaking, lifting heavy, being my best self, and just loving life, and I am so excited. I'm leaving it to the universe, i.e. Callum, to make sure that I get a spot. But it won't be the end of the world if not. It would just be really, really nice to compete. And so I've got a provisional end goal in mind, and with that I wanted to start weighing and tracking again and make sure I am where I want to be. I have stepped on the scales a handful of times between going on holiday and now, and sometimes 63 about there. Other days it's been up to like 64.5, and it's been up and down, so I wasn't too sure what I was expecting when I stepped on. But I weighed 65.5 kilograms. Now that is the heaviest I've ever been healthy. So I reckon I've probably weighed 65 when I thought I was fat, when I wasn't healthy because I wasn't really training. But I've never weighed 65 kilograms and been healthy. And instantly I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to cut because I'm gonna have to go down into the weight class below. Now I just want to like make a huge point here that at this point in my lifting journey, career, whatever, my weight class doesn't matter at all. I just need to go in and lift at a good weight, as in lift heavy weights. That's all I need to do. It is not like I am at the point of qualifying for nationals or competing nationally or internationally or anything like that. So my weight technically does not matter. That is a lot harder to tell yourself mentally when society gives us so much pressure around what we weigh and what we look like. So instantly I was like, I'm gonna have to cut back down. And I started tracking again and weighed every day this week just to see where I was sitting in terms of if I was eating for my weight. And I checked in with Callum and explained all of this to him. And he basically said if I'm comfortable with it, to not worry, basically, to not do anything rash, to not make a decision about my weight, to not aim for anything, don't change anything at this point. I said to him, I feel so strong. I don't feel like fat or anything negative about my current body. I really thought that if I had seen a number like that on the scales, I wouldn't be looking in the mirror and liking what I see. But I actually have no issue with what I look like at the minute. I definitely don't have abs in any way, but I never have, and I don't really want to. Like, that is not one of my goals. I do, however, feel super strong and really confident in my lifting, and that is my only goal at the minute. So we basically came to the conclusion that if I can kind of wait it out and see if I am comfortable at this weight and how I am lifting, then that should be absolutely fine. And even just talking to him made me a whole lot less worried. I was like, oh, I don't have to worry and cut down. Like, it's not a big deal. And it is okay that I am okay with how I am right now. So we are currently on a journey of accepting that the number on the scales is a little bit higher than I was expecting, but I feel great and I feel strong. So why does that number matter? Anyway, I need a little tea break because that felt like a rant. Anyways, so I am currently eating about 2,300 calories a day and between 130 and 140 grams of protein, and I'm weighing between 64 and 65.5 kilograms. It has been a little bit between that for the last week. My general day of food, which is what I've tried to do in the reel, although I am so bad at remembering to film my lunch and my dinner, i.e. my meal prep, but a general day of food for me. Breakfast, I have been having eggs, either scrambled eggs or an omelette with either toast or a bagel and some fruit. That is breakfast, and I eat that at the beginning of the day, obviously. When I get to work, I tend to have some fruit, some pistachios. I've been having a Baby Bell, or sometimes like a breakfast bar, something in that region, sometimes all of it depending on how hungry I am. But that kind of thing as a snack when I get to work. I then have my meal prep for lunch and dinner, and in between I may have another snack of like exactly the same thing, fruit, nuts, whatever. And that is kind of a full day of eating. My meal prep, as I've touched on in previous reels, either consist of kind of chicken and rice. I think one of the videos in there is like pork and noodles, a pasta bake, that kind of thing for lunch and dinner as my meal prep, and that is pretty much a full day of eating. I then did also mention in my story that I was going to touch on supplements, and I did actually bring them with me right there, but I don't know if I can. So my always and forever supplements, vitamin D and omega-3. I work in a basement. This is a non-negotiable. These two, all day, every day, not all day, every day, the correct serving size. So creatine. I jumped on this when it came out that this was amazing for you, and I was like, cool, I'll take any supplement, really. So with very little research, I took creatine, and I had been taking it for so long that it must have been maybe December. I was like, I don't actually know what effect this is having on me. Like, I've been taking it for so long, I'm not really noticing anything like still now, that I don't know what this is doing. So I stopped taking it and tried to notice if I could see a difference without it. And then started taking it again, and that has coincided with feeling really strong, although there are many other factors that have also led into that. I know a lot of people that like you can notice muscle definition, and that definitely hasn't happened for me. I would love it to give me some juicy biceps, to be honest, but it has coincided with strength. There are many benefits to creatine, and I have been taking that again. How long has that been? I've only been retaking this maybe for about a month now. And then a recent addition to my supplements is electrolytes. I bought these this week, so I have been taking electrolytes for 1 week and 1 week only. But since I started running, I have had, what's the word I'm looking for? Targeted ads on my Instagram, and electrolytes keep coming up, and I've ummed and ahed whether it's really necessary. Do I really need that? But yes is the answer. I have this huge bottle, which is as big as my head, which is 2 litres. It is a Frank Green for anyone that asks. I do wish I was sponsored by them, because I have now encouraged 5 people at the gym I work at, members, not other PTs, to buy one. So if I was getting commission, this was hella expensive. Just saying. Let's move that out of shot. I had a random girl come up to me with the exact same bottle, and she was like, I always see you with your clients with this. So I went and bought one. I hope you don't mind. And I was like, why would I mind? But Frank Green, if you're watching, I'm an influencer. I'm not. Anyway, what was I saying? That is 2 litres. I carry that around the gym with me all day, every day, and I usually finish it twice. So I drink 4 litres a day. Now, yes, that is crazy. It's also probably a tad unnecessary. I was needing a wee like every half an hour. It was crazy. So I started taking electrolytes. I have been running and it's been hot and I'm very sweaty. So helps with hydration. Is in no way a replacement for drinking your water. Please still drink your water. But since I've been taking it, I have probably only been finishing 1 to 1.5 bottles instead of the full 2, which is good because I also haven't needed a wee quite so desperately, so regularly, which means that I am absorbing what I need a little bit better and hydration levels are a little bit better. So I am going to stick to the electrolytes and see how we go. The reason I went for this brand, SIS, they're just from Holland and Barrett, is because they are the weakest, I'm going to run out of battery, they're the weakest tasting one. And I tried Ethan's one that he took on the Ironman with him, and it was just like drinking pure salt and it was awful. So I need to like ease my way into that. So they taste super weak, especially in 2 litres of water. So I went with those. That flashing battery light actually gives me anxiety. I will come back on to finish this video, but that is supplements summed up. If you have liked this video, even though it's been hectic and I feel like I've spoken on and on and on, please give it a like, a thumbs up, leave a comment, give it a share, show me some love, and okay, so I am just jumping into the end of this video to answer the questions that came up. Seemingly, people want to know a bit more about nutrition than training. So, first question was favourite protein powder. Now, I currently am in a phase where I'm not drinking too many protein shakes or using powders in like porridge or oats. There have been times where I've heavily relied on protein powder, but I have been trying this year just to get as much from Whole Foods as possible, simply because I feel quite bloated after protein powder. So at the minute, my favourite choice is the protein powder from work, so that's Natural Fitness Food, NFF. The vegan powders that they use are seemingly doing good for me. And if you work or train at Third Space and you have tried their shakes, my favourite flavour is by far the Ferrero Rocher. I also then get one of the green ones if I want a lower calorie one, which is really nice. If I am using protein powder in my oats at home, which I haven't actually been having oats recently, but I do go through phases with oats, and I will use My Protein's vanilla protein powder because that one tastes nice. I did go through a huge phase of drinking their Clear Whey, and I really do like their Clear Whey. I think I just had so much of them that I overdid it and felt a little bit sick drinking them. But if I do go back to using shakes as a way to get my protein in, it will probably be the My Protein Clear Wheys. My favourite flavour for that was the cranberry one. Was it cranberry on its own or cranberry and blackberry or something? The cranberry one was so good. I really liked that one. So that is protein powders. The second question I had was whether I vary my diet around my menstrual cycle, and I did touch on this in one of the videos near the beginning of the series where I was talking a lot about my menstrual cycle, but I'll go into a little bit more detail now. So I do not. I know people that will intentionally up their calories and make account for the fact of where they are in their cycle. I don't see the point. I think it encourages something that might not be necessary. Not everybody feels like they need to massively overindulge when they're on their period. I mean, like, you do get maybe like 1 or 2 days where you're just craving something unhealthy and potentially more calories, and that's absolutely fine, but you should just kind of allow yourself to do that as and when you feel, rather than adjusting your goal to have those calories or have that chocolate when you might not need it. I tend to have maybe at least 1, maybe 2 days in the month where I just feel so hungry, and my choice to fill that hunger is something chocolatey, and I will know that that is more menstrual cycle related, and I basically just allow myself, I'm a woman, my body needs that, wants that, whatever, and try not to beat myself up about it. But it doesn't happen every single month. If I'm not like feeling like I need to eat any differently, then there's no point eating differently for the sake of it. So I don't change my goal or purposely eat more or less around my cycle. I do just allow it if I can identify that it is related to my cycle, and potentially just be a little bit less strict during that time. The next 2 questions I'm kind of going to merge together, and the first one is, which foods do I cut out of my diet completely? And the second one is, how many cheat days do I have a week? And the reason I'm going to answer those together is because I don't do either of those things. I am a massive believer in not restricting or cutting anything out unless you have a severe allergy or intolerance to something. If you can't eat gluten, that obviously has to be cut out of your diet. If you're allergic to nuts, obviously you can't have that in your diet. But in terms of dieting for a weight loss or whatever goal, I don't believe in restricting your diet. Obviously, be sensible, but I think the moment you cut something out, especially for me, you just crave it more. And so I would try and have things in small doses, if you like, but keep them in my diet. Chocolate is the one for me that I would love to overindulge in regularly. I do think when I'm in a healthy headspace and working towards goals, I naturally find it easier to eat less chocolate, because it does make you feel a bit crap, and I really pick up on that when everything else I'm doing is making me feel so good. I just actually don't really want chocolate or a takeaway or crap food or whatever, because I'm just not feeling like I want my body to feel rubbish, if that makes sense. And that kind of ties in with cheat days. I will allow whatever food and make sure it fits within my macros, and won't have a day where I like go way over the top with loads of unhealthy food. And most of that comes down to, I don't want to feel rubbish the next day. And if I'm, again, in like a really healthy mindset and working towards goals, I just don't want to feel how takeaways and chocolate and crisps make me feel. Obviously there are times when I do eat more of those things than perhaps I'd want to, but equally I just want to live my life. And if that means having an extra takeaway where maybe it would be a good idea not to, then I have to deal with those consequences. But I don't cut anything out. I do just try and eat sensibly, and I definitely don't have cheat days because 1, they make you feel awful, and 2, I just don't think they're necessary unless especially if you're not putting heavy restrictions into your diet. So they are my answers to those questions. Hopefully that's helpful and all makes sense, and that is the end of this week's video. So we are all around nutrition. If you have enjoyed this, then please give it a thumbs up, leave a little comment and share if you can. I'll see you next week.